Star citizens, and welcome back to another video about Invictus. We are doing our giveaway this month in about 9 days, it looks like, and it'll be an MPUV tractor. All you need to do to enter is like, subscribe, and comment on a video from this month. And if you do all three of those things, you will be entered to win, and then I will do the drawing at the end of the month, or at least in the first week of next month. We'll see, but it should be the end of the month. I'm on track. I'm on pace to do it at the correct time this month. So like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you want to enter to win that MPUV tractor. And yeah, let's get into Aegis Day. So Aegis gets its own day today, and for a good reason. You know, you got the what is it? The Saber Firebird? That's new. Okay, Aegis, I like it. Just look kind of basically just like their way of selling the Raven without selling the Raven, because they technically can't sell the Raven and they still want to keep that as a rare ship. But they also brought all that stuff up to date, so that's good too. And then we finally have modularity for sure actually in the game with the cargo module and the bomber module for the Aegis Retaliator. And also that thing got a huge price bump, so we'll talk about that. So yeah, let's cut over and get into it. All right, so obviously Aegis Day, I talked about the Firebird, the Retaliator. Let's hop down here. Let's get to these 21 ships, because you know Aegis is one of the most prolific ship manufacturers in the game, if not the most prolific. I haven't done the math. It's either RSI or Aegis at this point. So yeah, so the Avenger Stalker. So to me, I think you have to do these in a row. So Avenger Stalker, Avenger Titan, and the Titan Renegade. Now to me, when you look at these ships, right, and I think you could get the Stalker if you really think you need it, if it's it is an interdiction ship. But I don't see why anybody wouldn't get the Avenger Titan. It's one of the best starter ships in the game as far as its ability to like kind of do a little bit of everything that you want to do early in the game. I mean, it's not the best at anything. It's not the best at anything. It's not the worst at anything, but it is an excellent starter ship. So to me, I think if you're going to start the game, I'm not paying $75 for what the Renegade offers, because there's better ships that I can get at the $75 limit, and I could just pay $5 to $10 more and get an even better ship, an advanced starter. So I think $60 is probably the most you should be paying for a starter ship if you're not going directly to an advanced starter. So to me, the Avenger Titan is one of the best overall ships because it does a little cargo, it's decent in a fight, it's pretty fast for what it is and what you pay, and it'll get you to the point where you can, you know, rank up and get a better ship. Now, of course, I do live by the code of that you should earn down, you know, thank you info runners. But the idea is, if you're going to get a starter ship, if you need at least one ship you're going to start the game with, right, and maybe you upgrade it or whatever, I would go with the Avenger Titan. I mean, you have the Drake Cutter and some other ships that are, you know, in that category for best starter, depending on what you want. But Avenger Titan, nobody's going to be mad at. Avenger Warlock. So this one's a little bit different because, again, I think it's a little overpriced, but I also think this ship has a little bit better use as far as like being able to shut people down and stuff like that. So again, I'm not going to pay $85 for a Warlock. I think I'm gonna just go straight into like the MR, the Zeus MR. I think I'm gonna go you know, Cutlass Blue. I mean, there's even the Hawk. I think there's just better ships depending on what you want to do specifically, but I just think there's better ships if I'm trying to catch people or leave people off guard. The Warlock is a little bit too expensive for my taste. All right, the Eclipse. All right, so the Eclipse I was a little hard on because I think, for me, I don't like the fact that it doesn't have guns, and I don't like its speed profile and its ability to maneuver considering what it looks like. Look at this ship. It's one of the most, if not the most, aerodynamic ship in the entire game. Is it not? Yet it flew like tested it, but my guess is it's gonna fly a little better. But also my problem with the ship is it only has torpedoes, no guns. They couldn't have put a size 1 on this thing, a size 2. If you're not going to make it, you know, a size 2 or whatever, you're not going to put the guns on it, then you're saying the only thing that's going to go in it is the torpedoes. Great. It should be the most stealthy ship in the game. There should be no other ship that is more stealthy than this because it's literally just built for stealth. But it's not. So my problem has always been it's marketed as a stealth bomber and a combat stealth bomber, as you can see, but I only see bomber. The stealth part is not enough. It's $300. If I'm gonna pay $300 for a ship, I get what they were going for, because this is definitely a really cool ship. Like, look at it, it's an incredible looking ship. But besides that and the 3 bombs, that's all it really has going for it. I get that people were able to like go crazy with ERTs with this because all it takes is 1 or 2 hits and pretty much anything's gone. But I don't know, for $300 though, I don't know if I'm paying $300 to be able to 1 and 2 hit some ERTs. So I'm hoping that in 3.23 it's improved. Let me know in the comments if you've messed around with it in 3.23 and it's improved. You know, my guess though is I think I gave it a 3 in my rating. It's probably up closer to like a 5 if they improve the things that I talked about. All right, so the Gladius is a little bit of a different animal, right? So the Gladius is one of the best light fighters in the game, if not the best. But again, as a 3.23, I don't know if that's still true because I think the Arrow might be edging it out right now. So we'll have to test and see. But right now, I think the Gladius is either number 1 or number 2 spot as far as best light fighter. So I mean, if you're looking for a light fighter and you're willing to put out the cash for it, I mean, these are all to me earning game. I don't think so far I've listed a ship in this Aegis category that I would purchase outside of the game. So yeah, I think I would earn this in game, but it's definitely the dog fighter of choice for a lot of people. So I don't think you're gonna go wrong whether you get the Arrow or the Gladius. I think you'll be satisfied. The Gladius Valiant is a no. It's $20 extra for a skin and some extra guns on it. Don't get it. Get the Gladius and then upgrade it the way you want to. Use that $20 for other stuff. Use it for a skin and then use it for, like, I don't know, a t-shirt. I don't know. The Hammerhead. The Hammerhead is a weird one for me, and it always kind of will be until it gets its rework, because the Hammerhead is an incredible ship as far as what its intended role is, but it just doesn't quite meet it yet. I feel like it's just aiming fodder for the rest of the ships in the game right now, and I think that's because it needs its rework. But I do think that it's underrated because of that. Like, once this ship gets its rework, I think it'll be one of the better ships in the game as far as like shooting ships, like shooting fighters, right? Obviously this thing is not meant to go up against large ships. It's not meant to go up against, capital ships or anything like that. It's meant to really just take all the fighters out that come around it. And I think they're going to improve it to the point where it's really tough to take down a Hammerhead, because it should be. It's a $725 ship. It should be tough to take down. But I don't think people should be running for the hills if they have a Hammerhead. I think you have to really ask yourself, is this the type of ship that I need in my fleet? Do I really just need a ship that destroys all fighters? Because if that's what I need, then I need a Hammerhead, right? But at the same time, you're gonna have to justify that $725 price, because this one's gonna be super expensive in the game. And I don't even think the prices that we see in game now are even gonna be the same prices by the time the game releases. So you gotta justify that. The Idris, to me, it's either the best ship in the game or one of the best ships in the game, but it's $1,500. So it's hard to even put that title on it at $1,500. But I just think the ship does so much. It encapsulates everything that a person might want to do in the game outside of industry and commercial activity. And I think this is the ship that you play Star Citizen for. Now, I think for me, because I like the ship so much, I kind of struggle with owning it versus like melting it and turning it into other stuff and earning it in game. So like I don't know what my final draft is going to be of my fleet, but I know this is going to be in it at some point. I don't know if I'll keep it or I'll melt it or what, but I know this is going to be in that final draft of my fleet. It's just a matter of whether I, you know, play the long haul and earn it in game, or if I keep it in the fleet. But yeah, one of, if not the best capital ships you can own. If you ask me, it's either the first or the second on, it should be the first or the second on anybody's list. Now, can you crew it? Is always going to be the question. Whether it's NPCs or it's people, this is a gigantic ship. It's one of the biggest ships in the game. So just beware that you'll have to crew it at some point. The Javelin, the biggest ship in the game. The reason this one is not on my best ships in the game, because it's so difficult to crew regardless of whether you have NPCs or if you have people. You need like 90 people to crew this thing. It's ridiculously big. I don't quite understand why anybody outside of a large org would even own one of these, but I get it. Some people just want to have the biggest ship in the game, but it's $3,000. $3,000 for one ship. Now, if I spent $3,000 on one ship, I wouldn't spend a single day with this not being out in the verse, right? So to me, it's a wait and see. I think we need to actually have the Javelin in game and see what it's built out like and what the interior is like, and you know, whether we actually want to spend. I don't know. I think with the information we have so far, I can't spend $3,000 on a Javelin. It's barely enough. We barely have enough information on the Idris to spend $1,500 on that, let alone the Javelin. So to me, it's a huge investment. I think it should be bought by multiple people in an org. I don't think anybody should be buying this ship alone. The Nautilus. I think this is an underrated ship. I think people are very, very down on the idea of mines in space because they're like, I can just go around them. But I think you have to look at the gameplay aspects and what is CIG going to do? You think they're going to create a $725 ship that's just useless? I don't think so. I think what's going to happen is the mines might be too weak or they're too strong, whatever it is, but they're going to be balanced at some point. So, you know, maybe they only go 200 kilometers in any direction, and then we realize those don't hit anybody. So then CIG is going to make them go 400 kilometers or whatever the range has to be in order for them to be effective as mine layers. That's what that is going to be. Not to mention, this has some large guns on it. It's not a fighter, but it's a large ship. So all you got to do is get a few shots in anyway. So this ship, I think, is going to be heavily underrated. However, you are paying for the exclusivity of being a mine layer. But don't forget, this thing can also pick up mines that other people lay. And that might be an even more useful thing in the verse, because I don't see myself needing to lay mines as much as I would need to pick mines up that are blocking something that I need to get to. So I look forward to picking up mines for all of you people who think the Nautilus is not going to be useful. The Redeemer. This is probably, to me, it's my favorite gunship in the game as far as like its ability to just destroy everything when it's fully crewed. Now, I think when this thing is fully crewed, it earns its $330 price. I do think it should be a little bit more maneuverable for its size. I don't know, it shouldn't be a speedy ship by any means, but I definitely think, considering it has like those special nutcracker, you know, engine things going on, I think it should just be, that should add something to this ship that makes it more unique. And right now, I just don't think it's maneuverable enough. I haven't played around with it a lot in 3.2.3, but I do think that if you got 4 people with you, I think if you got 5 people and you hop in this, you're gonna have fun. I don't think there's a single person that hops in a Redeemer and doesn't have fun with multi-crew gameplay going. So I think it's one of the best multi-crew gameplay ships. The Retaliator. Now, when this ship was cheaper, I would have said it's a steal, and I did. In multiple videos, I said it's a steal. At 175, I don't know if it's a steal anymore, but it's definitely a good ship. Now, I don't know if I'm I'm a huge fan of the modules that it actually has. I think the cargo module adds up to like, I think the cargo module together has like 70 something SCU in it, which isn't bad, but for a gunship, if I'm gonna go with that, I feel like I should get a little bit more. For I think it has size 9 torpedoes, so size 9 torpedoes, it can carry 6. I think it carries 6 size 9 torpedoes. That is solid. I think that's kind of what its purpose should be. But I also think the Retaliator is a ship that needs to be fully crewed. So it's going to be hard to do that because the amenities on board the Retaliator, even with the rework, they're good, but they're not great. And so I don't know. I go back and forth on the Retaliator, but I do think it's a quality ship. I don't think anybody that that has the Retaliator is going to be upset. I just don't think people should buy it just based on what the modules are yet, because we still don't know what that living module is going to do. We still don't know. We still don't have all the details on that. So I would just hold my horses on that. I think the Retaliator is a good ship though. Like, I think if you buy it, you won't be dissatisfied, but I think the model people should buy right now is the bomber model. I think you buy this as a bomber, and then if the other modules are great, then good. But I don't think anybody should just be purchasing this because they want it to be like a unique type of cargo ship or anything, except smugglers. Because from what I'm hearing from a lot of people, this is a great, undercover smuggler ship. So, I haven't been able to prove that, but that's what I hear from a lot of people, enough people to where I feel like it's worth mentioning. So there you go. The Saber is better with master modes from what I know, but it's still not one of the best fighters. It's supposed to be a stealth fighter, but it's not very stealthy, so I can't really give it that. To me, get the Firebird. If you want a Saber that's stealthy, you get the Firebird. For this one, I think you get it if you want, an in-atmosphere, a fighter that's in atmosphere, that's good in atmosphere. Like, if you think you're going to be doing a lot of in-atmosphere fighting, I think the Saber is a pretty good ship. The Comet, don't get the Comet. Look at the price difference. You're paying $15 for the skin and the different weapons, and I'm not 100% sure that those weapons are better than these weapons. So, I think either one of these ships, because they're so weak as far as hull HP, you should be taking the weapons off and putting Gatlings on there, or you should be putting ballistics on there. So if you're gonna, if this came with ballistics all the way through, then I would say it's worth it, but it doesn't. So you're really just paying for that ACU skin, that army uniform skin that it has on it, U.S. Army uniform skin. But yeah, this is the fighter that I feel like if you get one, I think, and it's not that it's not meant to be a supreme stealth fighter, like you can't see it, but it does have, like, when you look at it from the front, it does have a slim profile. So I get why they say stealth fighter. I wouldn't put it in that category. And yeah, the Firebird, I'm not going to talk a lot about the Firebird yet. I do like the price on it. However, I need to look at more stats and stuff before I can give you a recommendation. From what I see so far, I need to know how stealthy it's going to be, because right here it's listed as a medium fighter and not a stealth fighter. So it's a little weird to me. I'm not sure what the marketing is doing on it. But it has a gun, and it has, like, I think 12 missiles. So 12 missiles, and I think a size 2 gun on the front. So yeah, I have to look a little bit more into it, but I'll do a whole video on the Saber Firebird on its own. The Vanguard Harbinger, to me, it's the one you get. It's the Vanguard that you get if you want a Vanguard. Now, these are also due for a rework. It has these weapons on the front that obviously you can't change. But for me, I think the biggest thing for the Vanguard Harbinger is it's one of the best. I think it's going to end up being the best 2-person fighter in the game. I don't think it currently is that, but I do think after the rework, after balancing, after that's all said and done, I do think it's going to end up being one of the best two-person fighters in the game. And I think that's because the Harbinger was one of the first ships, and I think they're saving it to make it that good and to basically to reward the people who held out with it. But I think it's a good ship now. It just needs a rework, and the bomber version of it is, to me, great because it gives you kind of the best of all the combat things that you need out of it. It has a great turret on it. It has good pilot control weapons, and it has torpedoes to take out heavier targets. That's what you want. When I think of heavy fighter, this is the prototype of a heavy fighter, and that's why I think it's going to be one of the best. So don't sleep on your Harbinger if you have one. The Hoplite, I think, is the worst of the Hoplite series because I get it, it's a boarding vessel, but at the same time, it's a dropship, and I don't know that this form factor does well with it being a dropship. So I feel like I would like it to lean more into being a better fighter than a good dropship. And I feel like because it's a dropship, they should have added a turret on the bottom. And I feel like that would have made it a lot better. Turret on the top, turret on the bottom, because you always are going to have extra personnel on it. And then at least you would have 3 people on board that have active roles. So I just don't like the form factor for it. I think it needs an extra gun on it. So this is a skip for me, or at least a purchasing game. The Sentinel. The Sentinel is unique because the Sentinel is actually like e-warfare, but it is kind of an interdiction ship as well with that with the weapon types it has on board. So I think this is the second buy to me. Like, I feel like if you're not interested in the bomber gameplay or the heavy fighter gameplay, but you still want a Vanguard, you get the Sentinel. And I think E-War is going to be really good. Now, it's not listed as E-War anymore, but I think that this ship is going to be one of those command and control ships. Like, you'll see people getting in this and trying to direct the flow of battle, but also being able to fight if they have to. So I think this is going to be one of the better Vanguards. I think it's the second place Vanguard after the bomber. The Harbinger. After the Harbinger, you get the Vanguard Sentinel. It's not that far behind it, though. I think it's a really good ship. I do think it's a little overpriced, considering what you get, but at the same time, it's right now the only ship that does what it does. So, even though the gameplay's not in yet. And then the Warden. So, this is the third place for me. I think this is worth it if you don't really need the guns, but you know you're going to want to fight a little bit anyway. And I think this one is one of those ones where you get this if you kind of can't find another heavy fighter you like. I think this is kind of the default heavy fighter. Like, I like those heavy fighters. I like what this one can do. I like what this one can do. But yeah, they're not quite that great. So I would go with the Warden as my default choice. Just because the weapons on it are really good. It's not great. Again, I said I think the Harbinger is the better ship, and I also would go with the Sentinel before I got this if I was looking for something different, because I feel like the Warden is kind of an in-between as far as not being the best, but also not being the worst. So I don't see why anybody would pick the Warden really over the Harbinger at this point. But maybe when with the rework, it'll become more clear. And then our last one, the Vulcan. So I have sung the praises of the Vulcan many times. I didn't actually know if this would be available at Invictus, because I don't remember whether it was available at last Invictus. But if it's available this year, it probably was available last year. I do think it's a little overpriced, but at the same time, when you break down what we think of with price, it's how long am I going to keep this ship? Am I going to upgrade this ship? Am I going to, how useful is the ship, right? This thing can repair. It can repair ships with the drones. You see the drones in the picture. It can repair ships with the drones while they're flying. It can refuel ships, and it can rearm ships. Those 3 things are only capable in one other ship, and that other ship is also in concept. But think about right now how awesome it would be to be able to not even have to land and get your ship repaired. think about how awesome it would be to not have to land and get your ship refueled, not have to land and get your ship rearmed. Like, all of those things are incredible when you think about the actual usefulness of those things. Now, think about that, the fact that this also, you know, can carry a small vehicle. It can carry a small vehicle with it. You know, it's not going to be great in a fight, but it can carry a small vehicle. I honestly wouldn't even put I would put all power to the shields and all power to the engines in this thing. I wouldn't even attempt to put weapons on it, because I think you're going to be better off getting a little bit boost in speed and relying on the armor and the shields you have. But I just can't skip the idea that the Vulcan is going to be one of the best advanced starters in the game, if not the best, because I don't see a reason to upgrade it. Because if you jump, the next jump up from this ship is the Crucible, which is gigantic, and it's going to grow from where it is. It's already gigantic. It's already a huge ship, but it's going to be even bigger, I think, when it's all said and done. So the Vulcan, to me, is the only starter ship in the game, or advanced starter, not starter, advanced starter, the only advanced starter in the game that you can keep the rest of the game and still use it and have a great use for it. So I think it's one of the best support ships in the game, and so I think it's underrated. It's slightly overpriced, and I understand why people think it's overpriced at $200. But what when we say overpriced, what does that mean? When we say overpriced, we're talking about how useful is the ship. It has 3 solid uses. 3 solid uses. And so there's not many ships that have 3 solid uses. And it's built as being multi-role. The multi-role part is built in. It's one of 4 ships that uses drones. I don't know. I think, to me, if the only thing it's missing is being able to fit a Nursa in it. If it could fit a Nursa in it, it would be one of the best ships in the game. So to me, I think it's worth the $200. I think it's worth the grab. But yeah, I think let's look at some of these deals first, right? So the Gladius Valiant is the daily war bond. So I think that's worth a grab. I think because it's a $10. I'm pretty sure it's a $10 grab, right? So if you pair this with the one from yesterday, then you're already saving $30 on a ship that's above 150. So any ship that you're buying above 150, if you picked up this and you picked up the daily war bond from yesterday, you're saving $30 on it before we even finish the sale out, right? So there'll be another one tomorrow, and then there'll be more after that. But yeah, before we even finish the sale out, you've already saved $30. I'll be picking up a few of them. I'm doing a lot of upgrades right now to get to some of the final ships that I want in the game, at least purchasing the upgrades. I might make some stops along the way, you know, until some of those ships are in game. Because if you know me, you know most of my ships are in concept. So yeah, let's see what else we got. We got the Aegis gear pack. I know that they're doing an all Aegis pack. They're doing 2 all Aegis packs, one that's Warbond, one that's not, and it's got all the ships from Aegis, including the Idris P, and it has all the ships in it. I think it's $8,000. Now, why would they sell that for $8,000? I think that pack specifically is for people who want to get an Idris, but they can't win the F5 wars. So if you have $8,000 worth of ships, you trade all your ships in, then you get your Idris without having to play the F5 wars. And it's only available to concierge members right now, so you have to have already spent $1,000 in game in order to have access to that pack, because they want to know that you're serious about buying it. They don't just want to make it available to anybody, because if they were to have to refund that $8,000, obviously that's a big chunk of money to refund to people. So they want to make sure that most people that buy it are serious about the game, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I think that's it, except look out later for a Saber Firebird video and a Retaliator video. I'm going to do those 2 separate. But yeah, Aegis Day is always one of my favorite days, no matter what the ship sale is. So yeah, this is a fun one already. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thanks for spending your time with us. Peace.